Oh no, Shoop, it's the cackling skunk.
Now let's see who he really is.
Who but the person who bought all of those cans of tomato sauce? Wait, he's real? Shaggy's wearing a red shirt?
So, this is one of those series with real monsters?
But I don't exist in the... Well, at least there's no Scrappy.
Follow my socials.
So, Scooby-Doo. 50 years and I haven't seen anything like it. Okay, I've seen many similar things, but nothing really popped out. The original had so much charm that it's still being recreated and its influence on cartoons can still be felt, even after Hanna-Barbera itself stopped existing. I mean, there are so many series that not even Scooby made it into all of them. So on this Friday the 13th, after half a century of news, I see no better way of celebrating than going back to a series in the franchise that I remember fondly. The 13th Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. The premise is simple. Scooby and Shaggy have a flying mystery machine. Hey, they had already 15 years of selling toys at that point, and go to Tibet by not being able to read a map where a chest holds 13 of the worst ghosts in the world. Something that no one would open unless they were complete and absolute morons. I think you already know what's going to happen, right? The stories are quite predictable, but it's not a mystery series.
That's cute.
It stays between adventure and comedy, just using some elements of horror amidst cartoon logic and a vague interest in telling a story occasionally. In each episode, one of the ghosts, which can actually be a zombie, or a vampire, or a demon, or a witch, or a creature, tries to get the chest and kidnap this version of Mystery Incorporated so they can't be imprisoned again. Each has a gimmick to slightly differentiate them, like a ghost that has the power of creating an army of comic strip soldiers, but never uses it? He could wait a few days and have soldiers all over the world and be in the control of a dystopian future? But then we wouldn't have an episode. Or it could be a phantom tornado, perhaps connected to spirits that can wear masks? I don't know. And that might have something to do with the Bermuda Triangle, but that could also be a mixture of the spirits captured so far. Or it could be a coincidence that whatever that was, it just comes out of the chest when it's hit by enough evil energy or something. Yeah, I really can't defend the quality of this series, especially after seeing the episodes as an adult. They vary between requiring the audience to make an effort in keeping with the episode after production fails, like Flim Flam randomly pouting, or Scooby-Doo with the dead eyes of a zombie possessed by a ghost that's actually a vampire. Though it doesn't have to do anything related to a vampire except hide from the sun so the episode has a way to capture him, to being actively lazy, to the point of making you think that it's probably less work just doing something basic. On the 13th episode, for instance, there's a point in which these two ghosts knock down a light tower to kill our heroes, which has to require more animation than simply scaring the two. They are disguised as light keepers, so they could have just surprised them near a window and make them fall? No, they fly out and push a whole building down to leave our heroes over water. And this is particularly stupid when this is the last episode of a series in which one of the recurring gags has been a giant rubber ducky. Duck? These two ghosts, by the way, are recurrent adversaries and the biggest example of this problem. On the first episodes, they are motivated by being half ghosts and thinking that chest demons, which are ghosts or witches or vampires or can make them into full ghosts after being freed. And they are able to trick Shaggy and Scooby into opening the chest, because it can only be opened by humans. But then, they spend the rest of the episode without a fixed status, being complete ghosts when the script calls for it, and this might include teleportation, which none of the other ghosts in the series have, but getting stuck when the script so dictates. Not just in equipment made for that, no, but in handcuffs modified in an instant and off-screen. But I don't know. The charm of the series kinda stops me from saying it was all bad. And it seems I'm not the only one, since they made sure to make a movie to resolve the still open story. Honestly, I think they made 13 episodes and thought, oh, they were 13 ghosts. Or witches or demons or something. One per episode, they must have caught them all. And then someone said, hey, ain't you gonna finish that story anymore? Of course, they're going to capture the last ghost, or demon, or creature, or maybe it's the general attitude. The series isn't necessarily interested in being terrifying or super funny, but there is a certain interest in creating stories based on classics, such as an episode like It's a Wonderful Life, but at the same time presenting a post-apocalyptic future. I'd say a la Mad Max, but everyone is a biker closer to the 50s than Road Warriors. It looks less like Mel Gibson and more like Roberto Carlos, which is good because racism-wise, Flim Flam is as far as we need to go. Well, what could you expect from a town in Tibet that is more European than anything else? Actually, I think it was just the lack of understanding of the time. It doesn't feel like they would have called this kid this absurd name just out of the blue. I find it weirder that he's the only one slightly Asian in Tibet. Flim Flam is presented as a scam artist, and this is going to be the reason why they can do more cartoony things in the beginning of the series. But then, as I said, the quality varies a lot. In some, they are just cartoons, and that's it. Oh, I said cartoons? I mean to say they have their own TV series, which is very confusing because they have to hire another dog when Scooby gives up on adventuring in an episode, which leads to the president asking him to come back, but it's just in this episode. And there's no way of knowing if that would be the case in the rest of them, or if each of them is a look into one of the infinite realities until Owlman destroys Earth Prime. Maybe my glasses got a rose-colored touch from a ghost, which could have been a demon or a witch, but it's actually a vampire that doesn't suck blood. But even having seen the worst episodes again, what stays with me are the elements that I already remembered since I was a kid, and that still kinda work. For instance, Vincent Von Doom. Yes, Ratigan Thriller's Laugh Prize is a character in all of the episodes. Him being a caricature of the actor is a bit jarring with the rest of the cartoon, but part of the comedy works better when they use him properly. In the last episode, Boris Karloff is a TV host, and Vincent says,
"That's right, Scrappy. We went to school together, Terror Tech. We graduated in 36.
1936?
No, just 36.
If you don't know this part of Scooby-Doo history, and how do you expect to get into college without that? After the huge success of the first series on the franchise, eventually the viewing audience went down and they created... And then, all others became expendable. That's why Scooby and Shaggy didn't make it into every series. Daphne herself was in the series after being removed with Fred and Velma, probably for being seen as more superfluous, besides Shaggy with his red shirt. It's no wonder he's afraid of dying. We have also a Daphne with overalls and fuller hair, and personally I find that interesting. It's little, but together with piloting the plane, it gives the character a bit of progression. And maybe exactly because of that, they take the plane away and put her back in the dress in 2 episodes. But it could also be that nobody writing these knew that these would be changed. With that plus Flim Flam starting as a salesman of snake oil that actually works, and going from intelligence to the guy who screws up the whole group, I understand if someone doesn't like the series. An episode that got my attention is the one with the witch, who could have been a ghost, but they would only do that much later, which I'd switch, but I would do in a pinch. It's forced, predictable, and most of the script is pretty bad, but I'm a sucker for Three Stooges stuff, so the Brewski sisters are enough to make me like this a little. They are far from being a good representation of them, but close enough to remind me they were in a previous series on the franchise, and had their own series where they were super robots. By the way, the second episode is already quite something to see. If you think it's surprising that Scooby-Doo has an airplane and is in a world in which supernatural exists, it's because you probably haven't seen the Scrappy-Doo shorts. But it's a shock to see super powerful items who could change all of humanity for 1 episode. Yep, episode over, so there's no reason to mention any of this. It's not as if that magic spoon could basically defeat all of the next episode's villains. Another quite noticeable one is the 7th, in which one of the 13 ghosts, who could have been a demon, in fact, doesn't have a lot of powers. What? Yeah, Nekara, who doesn't wear a pretty hat, has a power that's quite limited, hypnotizing people, but only for that one day. So she needs to use her power smart. And even when it works, it's not enough to lead her to a win, so suddenly it feels like this is more about her potential to be dangerous, and that led her to be imprisoned, and hunting the ghosts make more sense. The only other power she has is moving her hair from her eye without using anything on screen. Oh, and becoming a Medusa for a second. No, she never does it again. So the potential is clearly there. The problem was the execution. I can't say it's wonderful or even good, but some episodes stayed with me for years. And I love those parts. And if you enjoyed it, please like, share with your friends, subscribe, and don't forget the bell. I see no better way of celebrating than going back to a series that gave me. Going back to one of the franchises, it's a series, goddammit. Going back to one of the series that brought me, goddammit. It's so much. I don't know how to speak.